Hello, everyone. I am tuning in today to talk about something that is really important to me and really important to my practice, which is consent. Here's the thing, it's a big subject. It's not something that you can watch one video about, particularly a video from me, and get it. It's something that you learn to understand through paying teachers for their labor, reading about it at length, learning how to embody it, experiencing, giving consent and asking for consent. It's a really valuable skill that is an aspect of communication. And as we move more towards consent culture as a reality, it's important to remember that just because consent got left out of the curriculum for so many generations doesn't mean that it's now like an add-on to your practice or an add-on to your communication or an add-on to your sex life. It's not like some super bonus thing that you can tack on to the end of your beliefs. It is something that needs to be integrated into the belief as a whole in order for you to practice it in a holistic and authentic way. So, for those of us that are practicing consent where we're like, okay, I guess I'll just ask before I do stuff, that's a lot of it. I mean, it's really not that hard to do that. But also having a sense for what is appropriate and what is available and what is offered, having it's kind of like language. It really is something that once you learn it, it affects every single part of your life. Or that was true for me. And I am very blessed to know some amazing consent educators that have not only taught me, but have taught a lot of the people that I work with. So check the description. I'm going to enter some of their information so that you can find them and you can follow them. They have some free resources. And also, if you're interested in actually creating a consensual life, like if you plan to be a leader, or if you plan to be a speaker or a writer, or some kind of like a person that is, I mean, including me, like I'm someone that is speaking my truth, not necessarily just to teach people, but also to share my personal journey so that people can glean insight and wisdom for themselves, right? So it is my responsibility as someone that has like however few subscribers I have to be sure that I understand things like consent, gender expansiveness, white supremacy, capitalism, oppression, power dynamics. Like even just me having a platform and having the willingness to use that platform is me entering a contract with reality that says I am now responsible for the things that I say and do. And in order to protect myself and protect the people that I plan to love and nurture and eventually teach and lead, it is my responsibility to educate myself about these things that are really important to the way that we see reality. So, what I'm noticing in this space, like if I tune into the collective energy, we are moving more towards consent consciousness. But there's also a lot going on right now that is preventing people from really embodying and learning what consent is. And if we skip that step, we're spiritually bypassing. Anyone who's doing magic should understand that there is a level of consequence and there is a level of consent required. So if the whole world wakes up right now and starts using magic, but they don't have an understanding of consent, they're going to fuck something up. And that's a lesson that we see a lot in the media around witchcraft. I was sort of thinking about how the way that in a lot of movies about magic, it ends up not really working out for them. And I'm like, well, that's not really a very positive view of witchcraft. But when I look a little deeper, often it's because they, just like a supervillain in a movie, they really think that they're the hero. They're leading from their ego. They're not respecting consent. They're not respecting the order or the law of the universe that exists, whether we like it or not. And so I think that that's really the key to understanding and embodying consent in magic is realizing this is the foundation of my understanding of consent. Each of us has entered this mutual reality, and my belief is that we had telepathic abilities for a really long time. I do believe that. And I believe that there's a reason that we don't have a lot of recorded history, but we still have a huge amount of history because we had a different way of communicating that was not the way that we see language now. And in our experience of reality through polarity, which is kind of like conflict and bashing heads or knocking shit down to see how it falls, like that's kind of what we're doing and we've been doing in this age. As we moved into language, it became more valuable and more required of us to start using language to affirm and create this reality. So, us having the ability to sing and speak things into existence is on purpose. That is a gift from the universe, which also the birth of the universe is a sound, right? So, our voice is very important and valuable. I am so excited for your consent journey because it's not about like asking before you touch someone's butt. That is a part of it. But multi-dimensional and expansive ascension consent is about affirming a reality, checking in on mutual realities, and really honoring the fact that we have come here for a purpose. If we truly embody and understand consent, we are allowing others to embody their own sovereignty and give them, we like honor them by allowing them to have as much control or sovereignty over their reality as they want. And without consent, we are taking away, if we don't ask for consent before we invade someone's reality, we are taking away their power. So there's a lot of communication in the magical community about how to call all your power back. But I don't see a lot of communication about how we are responsible for taking people's power all the time. We, by ignoring consent as a part of our magical practice or ignoring consent as a part of the way that we talk to people or engage with people, we become the people that are taking power from others. So I have this spiritual, it's a tongue twister. I like alliteration, you know what I mean? Sexual, spiritual, sensual sovereignty series, which is on the Patreon if you're interested. One of the reasons I keep it behind a paywall and I keep the audience for that small is because some people can't do this work yet. I can't have that for free on YouTube that's like clickable and shareable for all these people to take advantage of the message about sovereignty. Sorry about it. And so I'm slowly learning how to experiment with making sure that that information is safe and protected. But we're coming out of an age where all of this shit was hidden. You know, we keep stuff in a safe for a reason. Like there's a reason that, you know, the idea of limiting access, that blows. And we are deconstructing and learning how to get rid of that. But the thing about that is that people really do have to be ready to receive information. So I'm going to kind of move into what consent looks like in magic. And I'm going to start by just listing some things that are present in my life that I think would be useful for people to hear. If you masturbate to someone and they don't know, that's not super consensual. If you are doing masturbation spells to draw people to you or to like have like a love spell for someone and they don't know that you're doing that with them, it's not consensual. There's magical consequences to that, but also there's a consequence within your conscience. Your soul knows what is consensual and what is not. And I have an OnlyFans. Anyone that is doing an energy exchange on my OnlyFans, they're paying money to receive my power. That is, to me, something that I have like a spirit contract. That's consensual for me, right? And in situations where someone is like making content for you to masturbate to, chances are that's probably consensual. If you want to be super safe and super hot, you can always message someone and be like, hey, is it okay if I masturbate to you? That's a pretty sweet flirt. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't recommend sending that DM to someone that you barely fucking know or that you've seen twice or that like the trust of the relationship is that you're friends on social media. That's not really cool or kosher. But if you're on my OnlyFans and you want to message me and ask if it's okay, that's super hot. I would love to give you permission to masturbate to me. I love consent. I think it's sexy. So just keep that kind of stuff in mind. Here's the thing, like some of us have partners that we love that we masturbate to. Some of us have old videos that people have sent us that we masturbate to. And I'm not about call out culture. I'm about call in culture. So here's what I am inviting you into. I am inviting you into a place where you can decide based on each situation what is consensual. So if you are 100% comfortable with masturbating to old videos of your ex because you feel like they'll be comfortable with it, that's your choice. My recommendation would be to not do a sex spell while masturbating to that video unless you've asked them. And then my double super consensual advice would be to message them and see if that's okay. I know that that's not super culturally acceptable. And you might be feeling, I'm feeling that you might be feeling shame, regret, anger. Like, I don't want to do that. That's too much bullshit. They gave me that video. Like, this is just an example, first of all. Second of all, check in around that. If your first reaction to someone who has taken consent classes is anger or resentment or pushing away, just see where that comes from. And here's the deal. Some of us have to learn through pain. Most of us have to learn through pain. I've learned a lot through pain. And pain doesn't have to be like, oh, I fell down and skinned my knee, so I better be more careful with my feet. Pain is also, oh, I fell down and I accidentally breached the consent of someone that I love. I need to get up and be more careful about that in the future, right? When it affects other people, our mistakes can feel painful to us. And that's good. That means you have morality. If you feel a little like icky about some of the things that you've done in the past, that is your conscience and your morality growing. And those growing pains sometimes look like shame, blame, anger, sadness. The idea is to learn to alchemize those feelings into a better result in the future and into better behavior in the future. So, especially with something like these consent things and these sexuality things that I speak on, there's a lot of shame and blame that comes from the outside. So if we have internalized this reaction to punish ourselves or to make ourselves wrong or bad or like, oh no, I'm the villain in the story, better tap the fuck out and never do anything good again. Like, those kinds of reactions are not just about you. They're also about the culture that you're living within that gives you messages about how to behave around that stuff that are not useful and not healthy, right? One of those things being call out culture, which I could do a whole whatever. We needed it when it was there. That I'll say that. And so that's a little blip about an example of an area that sometimes seems like consent isn't an issue, but it totally is. And now I'll talk a little bit about what it is like to do sex magic and spell work consensually when it comes to partner stuff. You can't do a spell while you're fucking someone if they don't know. If they don't know you're doing it, one, might not work. Sorry about it. And two, they haven't consented to use their energy in that way. So here's the thing this is like kind of downloading now. We are entering a more vibrational reality. Things are going to get a little more ethereal. We're going to start feeling other people's feelings. We're going to start being able to read people's thoughts a little more. This Ascension thing is happening. Like, things are happening. And what I see for people is that we are going to start understanding how our energy field feels. We're going to start, this is a choice that you can make. Like, I stopped drinking. I stopped consuming low vibrational content. I stopped engaging in a lot of casual sex. And one of the things is, like, the quarantine really purified my life. I used to have visions of being a monk or a nun, and I would see myself now, and I would be like, there's no way I'm ever going to do a sex fast. I love sex. That's never going to happen for me. But the sex fast happened to me through quarantine. So I say all that to say, once you start undergoing an ascension process, once I started undergoing an ascension process, I started to understand where my energy was going, how it was being affected by other people, where I was giving it away, where it was being taken from me. And I've done a lot of spells where I do call my energy back to me, and I'll post a spell on the Patreon of me doing it, because that's a really valuable skill to have, to be able to, at, like once a month, twice a month, just call any of the energy that you've given away or that's been taken from you back to you. But the point being, when we start feeling those things, we're going to start to understand that when we have sex with people, we give away a little bit of our energy. Sometimes, if there's not a shared, equal, reciprocal situation going on with your sex life, then chances are you're either taking energy or giving some energy away, both of which are not good for you. And here's the deal. I'm feminine. I was raised a woman. I am a woman. I understand that the patriarchy has taught us to sacrifice and to give of ourselves. The thing is, that's not holy. That's not in service of our divine ascension. We do not gain anything by giving away our power or taking care of someone else. And this is the last thing I'll say about consent, because I'm going to link some resources in the comments so that you can study on it. A lot of my intention is to really just inspire you to understand that sex magic is something that requires consent in order to do. I'm going to flip around my little skull so you can get the full eye contact. So when you're engaging with sex magic and you're thinking about doing partner magic, or you're masturbating to stuff and you're doing spells, like, don't do spells on people without them knowing. That's like rule number 1. And I think that the piece that people sometimes miss is like, and manifestation culture is cool. I love it. Just like consent culture. It's a beautiful thing that has entered our realm, and manifestation culture will bring us prosperity, ascension, vibrational alignment. Like, the people all over the world that are manifesting right now, it's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. But if you're like looking at an Instagram photo of someone that you want to fuck and you're trying to manifest them, that's not consensual. That's really unsafe. And it's not just unsafe for them, it's also unsafe for you. Why would you use your manifestation energy that way? The other thing that I see that is another cultural situation that I've been in is that sometimes people feel obligated to save someone or ascend them or bring them on their level. Here's the story, y'all. There's a sweet, amazing woman who is making shit happen for herself and manifesting in her life. She's discovered magic. She has oracular abilities. She's really climbing the ascension ladder, which really, it's not a ladder. It's like expansion inward and outward. But eventually her ascension hits her partner, and her partner is not doing any of this shit, and it is dragging her down. This is just an example. It could be any gender. This person is expanding and it's dragging them down that their partner isn't. That's a decision that you have to make. But what you cannot do is like put your partner in a circle of candles without them knowing while they're sleeping and like trying to raise their vibration. Here's the other thing about that is when you have thoughts that are like trying to, if you're spending your energy on taking care of this person so that they can ascend, and you're giving your ascension energy to that person, it would serve you better to ascend yourself and leave people behind. And for those of us that are in these relationships where we're really intertwined, that can feel really scary. But the thing is, you cannot wake someone up. That's not your job. That's God's job. That's spirit. That's the universe. That's Sophia Gaia. Like, the waking up process is something that happens from human to human, not with direct energy like this. Like, I don't have wake up energy that I can just zap into your brain. It happens through you living your life and expanding and being your best self, embodying your godly, like, fullest evolution. And then when other people see that or interact with it in a way that's healthy for you, they get inspired and they want to do it too. it's not you, like, we cannot, it's not consensual to deny someone else their journey. It's not useful to deny someone else their journey. And the thing is, sometimes we undergo loss in order to ascend. It's a part of the ascension process, is leaving behind what doesn't serve us, like a snake molting, right? Okay, let me see if I have any other notes on consent. Oh, yeah. So here's the thing. Going in, this is the thing about trying to change other people not being consensual, even if they're really close to you. And here's, if you're in communication with someone and they're like, hell yeah, wake me up, and I can't wake up, wake me up and save me. Like, if they're like really into the ascension process and they want you to do spells and they want you to make choices for them and they want you to take away their free will so that you can decide how they evolve, that's consensual. Just say, like, hey, I want to have control over your life and I want to have control over how quickly you ascend. So why don't you just hop on my train and I'll give you half of my energy? I mean, if you want. I don't think that's what you want, but you could do it. The thing is, when you are trying to wake someone up, you are denying them their journey when you take over their narrative and have a projection or an idea. You know, a lot of us do fall in love with the potential. For those of us that are psychic and we can see the future, sometimes we look at someone and we see right through them to the version of them that they could be. And we fall in love with that version because we have future vision. The thing about timelines is we don't know when that future version of that person is going to happen. We don't know if it's after we break up with them and they have a coming to Jesus moment. We don't know if it's years down the line when they have another relationship just like ours. Like, we cannot deny someone their journey just because we want the perfect partner or the perfect friend or the perfect mentor or the perfect teacher or the perfect child even. Like, it's really important to understand that everyone has sovereignty over their spiritual journey. And as you learn and integrate that message, what you'll start to understand, and you can do it in either order, but we are all one another. We are all here on this journey to make each other stronger. And that includes, you know, every connection that we have is making us more loving and more loved, more loving and more loved. Like, that is the ascension process. And, or it's a piece of it, I'll say. When we're in kind of that flow and someone knocks us out of it, it really is our job to just remain in our sovereignty instead of playing into their projection or letting our vibration be dragged, you know, outside of ourself. Like, it's really important to understand that our sovereignty is about us being in our body and being in integrity with what we actually desire and what we actually want for ourselves. And that's kind of what I feel like I want to close it on. I'm going to have more detailed breakdowns of how to honor consent in like specific spells, how to cultivate a consensual practice. It's just really not something I can do in one video. And what I've learned about myself is that generally I teach, or like the downloads that come to me are what I feel called to talk about. And like the lesson is something that I'm learning and integrating as I am creating and sharing about it. So, you know, this process for me, like, you might just be watching this for entertainment or to like learn a little bit. But for me, I'm like expressing things verbally in this way and expressing them with the intention of sharing them gives me more psychic perspectives to my work. So me making this video about, you know, how to be a little more consensual and how to understand consent is also teaching me about consent, and those downloads will keep coming. So there will be more videos about this. But yeah, I really just wanted to kind of tune in and give a little example. And I think the final thing that I'll leave it on is that consent is not necessarily a list of steps to follow, but it's an attitude and an understanding. And it is a spiritual concept that in order to have a more healthy and a more effective and rich practice, it's important to learn about it. So the study doesn't stop here. Watching one video does not mean you understand consent. And now that you have a little bit more of a spiritual perspective on it, hopefully, like if you've already seen consent content, I would recommend going back to it with this new spiritual perspective, because all of that stuff is teaching you something about your spiritual journey too, even though it might just be about like sex in that situation. Cool. Well, I hope that made sense. Sometimes I just tune out while I'm talking. So I'm sending you lots of love. Please let me know in the comments if that resonated with you. Please let me know in the comments what questions you have to like further inform my content moving forward. This is a really rich concept that I want to teach more on. I feel really called. And if you want to get in on the sex magic spells that I'm doing on my Patreon, check out that link. There's a $3, a $9, and a $25 option. And the $9 option is where you get my Sexual, Spiritual, Sensual Sovereignty series, which is ridiculous that I named that. And that's also an interactive course on sex magic. So I create the content as you ask your questions, and it's, you know, it's a way to get close to one-on-one interaction with me to learn about sex magic in a way that's customized to you. Especially now that there aren't that many patrons yet. If you're a founding member in November, so if you subscribe before November is over, you get a free reading from me. I'll send you the video for it. And you get the opportunity to be one of the founding members that contributes to how the content is created. So hop on it. I'm sending lots of love.